Good afternoon again, back with Elizabeth Momola. And Elizabeth's going to talk about a career thing, which is super cool. She's going to talk to us about moving from an admin role into becoming a security professional, I beg your pardon. So without further ado, welcome Elizabeth, and over to you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Elizabeth, and today I would like to talk to you about my transition from administrator to security analyst, the Graduate Apprentice program, and why it's also an awesome thing for employers. So let's start with who am I? First and most important of all, I am a Graduate Apprentice security analyst at Quorum Cyber. I'm also a student at Edinburgh Napier University, currently doing my second year of cybersecurity and working towards my bachelor degree. I am a mom of two amazing kids that keep me busy 24/7, and I am a proud owner of two fluffy cats and one crazy pup. And a year and a half ago, I was working as an administrator in the public sector. Now, you might wonder, why would I want to give up a job and start the learning process from the beginning? Well, in my case, I was looking for a stable career. The public sectors are under constant reviews, looking to save as much money as possible. My department in our local council was also undergoing these reviews, which in practical terms meant that I was on a fixed term contract, and every 3 months, I would wait to hear whether my contract got extended or terminated. And when you have a family to support, that's not really an ideal situation. So you might ask, why cybersecurity? In my previous job, one of my many responsibilities was making sure offices in my team were GDPR compliant, doing financial investigations and audits, and I really enjoyed that problem-solving bit of my job, looking for those tiny cash discrepancies that made whole budget reconciliations just go wrong. And cybersecurity seemed like a field in a way related to that, so I could transfer some of those soft skills that I gained in my previous positions. Now, my journey, I guess, started around February 2018. At that time, I got promoted to a senior position, still fixed term. And around the same time, I joined Google Udacity Front End Web Developer Challenge. Back then, I didn't even know that the Graduate Apprentice program existed, and I couldn't afford to just give up my employment and study full time. So doing online courses and challenges like this one in my free time seemed like the only way to dip my feet into IT and make a slow transition. After completing the challenge, I was offered a place on the Google Nano degree program. And I think back then it cost around £900 to do it, and I was offered it for free. So I was thrilled, and I thought that this would be my turning point. However, due to a series of unfortunate events, my job turned from full-time to full-time times two. My manager went off sick long term, and there was just no replacement. So part of the responsibilities was shifted onto me. Plus, I became the first point of contact for our 7 offices across town. So I had to give up the nano degree program to cope with the workload. And at that point, I just knew that if I want to make the transition, I just need to jump into deep water. I had to find an entry level position that would accept me as I was, without much knowledge and with zero experience in the field. I started my search from the most popular job sites, S1 Jobs, Total Jobs, Indeed, only to find that the positions closest to entry level were either graduate or junior. Now, even though I didn't meet the requirements, I was still applying, hoping that maybe a recruiter would spot me and take pity on me. And then I came across an apprentice position that was posted by QA Apprentice. I can't remember what was the exact job title. It was something related to IT. I've applied, and a few days later, I got a phone call, and I can remember the excitement. I thought, this is it. I got an interview. Someone noticed me. The lady on the phone said that they got my application and they would potentially be interested, but she needed to clarify one thing: my age. Because looking at my CV, it appeared that I'm over 21. And that was my first pitfall. When I started to question whether maybe it's too late for me to do a career change. I mean, is the age 21 an expiry date for a person's career? Despite that the discouragement, I kept looking, but this time I focused on the word apprenticeship. I came across Apprenticeship Scott website, and that's when I hit jackpot. Apprenticeship Scot is a website that provides information about the apprenticeship program in Scotland and lists available jobs. Back in January 2020, there wasn't much jobs in IT, and I have extended my search to include Glasgow and Fife, and not just Edinburgh, where I'm based. And I think back then there was maybe 9 positions in IT. Most of them were software development related, but one caught my attention. It was a cybersecurity/infrastructure graduate apprentice. So after confirming that my Polish education was just as good as the Scottish A-level exams, I got an interview. As part of the interview, I had to do a logical test and answer questions like, would I be able to assemble a PC? In May 2019, I got the job. The job turned out to be more infrastructure based, but it was a great starting point to learn about networking and how IT departments look from the inside. In September 2019, I started my uni. There was only 8 of us doing cybersecurity as apprentices, and I was the only woman. Over half of the people in my group already had some sort of experience in IT, and they were just looking to boost up their experience and gain some theoretical knowledge about cybersecurity. That was a bit intimidating, and I think that at that point I understood that in order to be successful, I needed to learn a lot and I needed to learn fast. I felt that my work just wasn't able to provide me with that. My team was very small and extremely busy, and there just wasn't enough time to provide me with a structured training program. And I felt that it would be unfair to ask for more when people were stretched above and beyond with their responsibilities. In January 2020, I attended a cybersecurity event organized by Napier University. The event was organized mainly for future graduates, and it offered an opportunity to learn more about the market and meet potential employers. That's when I first met Quorum Cyber, and to be specific, that's when I first met our managing director, Federico, who at the time was talking about personal well-being in cybersecurity. During the break, I took the opportunity to approach every company and see if they had any apprenticeship openings. Quorum Cyber was the first company that I've approached. I went over to Federico. I've explained my story as briefly as possible, and that was much briefer than what I'm doing right now. And I've asked if they had any graduate apprentice openings. I was asked to get in touch with Bill, who is our head of talent. I've sent over my CV with a few words about me and my situation. And in February 2020, I was invited over for an interview. So at the interview, it turned out that Quorum Cyber did not have any graduate apprentice job openings. They never ever employed a graduate apprentice, but I think my story caught their attention and they wanted to learn more about the program and how it works. In April 2020, I officially became part of Quorum Cyber, but I think the story of remote onboarding, training of new employees during the pandemic is a topic for another session. So what is graduate apprenticeship? Basically, you work, get paid, and study at the same time. It starts with you finding an employer or working for an employer who is willing to support your learning. The employer then fills in an application and sends it over to the university that has an appropriate graduate apprentice program. The application isn't complicated. It's just to confirm your education, company details, and personal details. The university then applies to the government to get the funds to pay for your university fees. In Scotland, this is done through Skills Development Scotland. Then at the end of every academical year, the university fills in a progress report together with you and your employer and returns it to the government to keep the funds coming. A very important thing to remember is that the funds for your tuition fees are linked to you as a person, not to your employer or to the university. So if at any point during your journey, you need to change universities or employers, it is possible, assuming that the university you're moving to has a graduate apprentice program and is willing to transfer you over, or if you're changing the employers, assuming that your new employer will support you in your learning process and will provide you with a release from work to complete your university studies. So how does the program work? I've mentioned that the employer needs to release you from work to complete the university studies. Now, the apprentice program is designed so that all of your university modules are compressed into one day. So effectively, the employer needs to release you only 1 day per week for you to go to university. However, don't be fooled thinking that it's only 1 day that you need to complete your degree. On top of that, you will need few hours every week to read through material or prepare for assessment, review for exams, or code. The modules that consist of your program will be different depending on what university you're studying at. So cybersecurity at Napier will have a bit different modules compared to Glasgow University. Now, you might think, how is it possible that you're studying only 1 day per week and you get the same diploma as full-time students? Well, the Graduate Apprentice program is built around the learning experience. And in order to make this work-based learning experience valid, universities created modules like professional practice, where you document and write reports on what skills and what experience you've learned in your workspace. You don't have to be a rookie to do it. As I've mentioned, in my group, there are people who already had experience in IT and they were just looking to boost up their skills. There's also an option to start your bachelor degree from second year, or you can do your master's degree in an apprentice mode with a 1 day release to do your university work. There is no upper age limit. And I think that this photo taken during group work last year at university gives a great image of the gender and age diversity. Now, as much as I love the Graduate Apprentice program, and as much as I want to sell it to you all, I need to complain about something. Now, you probably heard of a term, work-life balance. And in my head, it looks something like this installation of a tight wire walker in my hometown. Now, in my world, ever since I became a graduate apprentice, there is no such thing as balance. And I think this applies to most of people in IT in the current times. With so many things going on, it's more about tuning in or tuning out different aspects of my life, sacrificing free time to learn. And I mean, there is a lot to learn. So what's in it for you? I've talked about the cons, the workload, the sacrifices that come with the commitment. So now let's talk about the pros. First of all, you earn money. You don't have to give up your employment to do a full-time university course. How much you earn will depend on your level of experience and will be set up by your employer. It's a great networking opportunity. You get a degree and a diploma, and with the diploma, you also have 4 years of working experience, putting you way ahead of full-time students. And you learn a lot. And even if you already have experience in IT, there will be still new things that this program will teach you. Now, a bit about the link in the top right corner. Whether you're thinking of changing your career path or you're already in the process, just as I am, you will have your ups and downs. And believe me when I tell you, from my own experience, everyone gets their downs and their doubts. And what you need then is a good pep talk. For me, it's this video from a TED conference where Mel Robbins talks about how to make changes in your life happen, with her mantra being, getting what you want is simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. Now, in my case, it was as simple as quitting my job and joining the apprentice program. It wasn't easy, but it was as simple as that. Now, this part of my presentation is directed to employers. I could bore you to death with statistics, and if your brain is just like mine, you'll switch off and wake up at the end of the presentation. And some of you will agree with the statement that there is a skills gap in cybersecurity, and some of you will strongly disagree and say how easy it was to fill in cybersecurity posts in your company. But I think we'll all agree with an opinion that the cybersecurity industry is still in its early stages and will keep growing and expanding. With every new piece of software, newly developed technologies, and new laws like GDPR, there comes an immediate need for cybersecurity solutions to prevent cybercrime or misuse of technologies or data. So creating entry-level positions like graduate apprenticeship will allow the industry not to be only dependent on university graduates fueling the market. Must I also mention that employing an apprentice will save you money and you will help the economy? By allowing people looking for a university degree to work as an apprentice while studying, you put them in the tax system 4 years earlier than if they would study full-time. Companies will be able to shape the industry by allowing people, such as myself, to requalify. The word sustainability is very popular and trendy, and I think it should also be applied when we talk about job markets and creating opportunities. During my time of work in the public sector, I've heard people complaining on numerous occasions about how software and technologies leave people without jobs, simply because automation makes the processes easier to manage. By creating apprenticeship positions, we are being sustainable. We are allowing these people who might become jobless or are jobless because of technology or economical changes to requalify and utilize their very valuable skill set that many freshly graduate students will lack. Maybe in the future, it won't matter what university you've finished, Harvard or Oxford or Napier or MIT, but what company trained you to become who you are. This is the end of my presentation, but it's just the beginning of my journey in cybersecurity. I hope you've enjoyed my story, and maybe it served as an inspiration for people looking for a career change or employers looking to expand their teams or boost their employee skill set. To make this presentation even more memorable, I have prepared a joke. Where did the hacker go? He ran somewhere. I would also like to give many thanks to the beer farmers for accepting me as a speaker and providing me with this amazing opportunity. A big thanks to all the mentors and fellow speakers for all the tips and help and for creating this amazing and supportive community. A huge thanks to my manager at Quorum Cyber, David McKenzie, who gave me the idea for this talk and made me believe that I can do it. Infinite thanks to Quorum Cyber for taking me on board and providing me with constant opportunities to learn new things. And finally, to my husband and my kids for supporting me in my journey, for believing in me and in what I want to achieve in my life, and for being so understanding whenever I say, Mommy's going to have a conference, please go with Daddy to McDonald's. If you would like to learn more about the Graduate Apprentice program, please visit these websites that I've listed. I will also chat them into the Slack channel and on my LinkedIn and Twitter profile. The first two links provide information about the apprenticeship program in Scotland, the last two about the apprenticeship program in the rest of the UK. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them now or message me via LinkedIn or Twitter. Thank you.
Fabulous. What a wonderful talk. Brilliant.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's great seeing a journey, a career path, you know, from where you were and some of the struggles and difficulties that you had into what appears to be very clearly a much better place. You're obviously very happy in your career, your life in general. You're working for a great organization. So, yeah, kudos to you for being able to make that leap. But keeping everything in perspective as well at the same time. So, yeah, very well done there. Did we get any questions?
None on Slack. Everybody's just saying this is a really inspirational story. One anonymous person, though, did say, as an employer of graduate apprentices, they are also driven by the awesome people who give great talks. So that came from an anonymous person. No idea who it was. Just thought I'd share that. But no, I have a quick comment on, well, people are probably going, oh, well, let's get the questions in now. You mentioned that others already had a grounding or a qualification or some sort of background in cybersecurity and wanted to just kind of get that piece of paper or that background or that additional bit. But you obviously came at it from a different angle. Do you think that was advantageous to you? Whereas people were kind of stuck in this mindset and you were kind of open and just like a sponge taking everything in?
It's difficult to say. I mean, some of the people, for example, had a networking background. And I think in cybersecurity, it's important to understand the traffic flow of information. And it can make it easier to detect stuff when you know how networks behave and what's expected and what's not expected. For me, everything is new. So sometimes there are subjects which the guys with the IT background will roll their eyes and think, oh my God, we have to do this. Or this is pointless to learn programming or scripting. And for me, everything is new, and I want to just inhale everything that I can and learn everything that I can. So I think the advantage of not coming from an IT background is that everything's exciting for you.
I think that's really nice though. I mean, for example, the boring stuff that we have to do day in, day out, it can get quite monotonous, but working alongside someone that's like, oh my God, this is so cool. Even if it's boring to me, like that would really, it could spur you on. So that's awesome. I think Sean had a question.
Yeah, I had one. So Scott kind of touched on this in our opening remarks, that the industry is often seen as very toxic. You got gatekeepers and that, and there certainly are instances of that. I'm just wondering, from your perspective, since you've come into the industry as a new person and you don't have that sort of background associated with yourself, what's it been like for you? Have you had any issues?
I think my biggest issue was just putting my foot in the door and getting this first opportunity to start the work in IT. It's difficult when you don't have any sort of IT related background or like a feasible level of certificates or knowledge to convince the employers that your soft skills are valuable and that you're willing to learn stuff. And I think that my background, I mean, I've worked in customer service, I worked as an admin, I worked as an optical assistant at one point in my life. And I think that all of that experience made me a good employee in a way, because like doing this talk did not freak me out as much as it probably would freak out anyone else who didn't have any working experience. I'm good with like sorting stuff and organizing stuff. And I love looking for like, irregularities because of my background. So I also love the community in cybersecurity. I mean, when I was working as an admin, we didn't have these groups. We didn't have conferences where people talked about, reconciliation of budgets. But in cybersecurity, it seems that those small communities are very lively and they're very welcoming, at least from my perspective.
Oh, that's awesome. Because so often there's the negativity that drowns out the positivity, and that, to me at least, the negativity is only a small portion. Just look at today; there's huge amounts of people involved, and it's just nothing but positivity. So it's really encouraging to hear that. So thank you.
100%, Sean. And I guess the last point I'd like to make is that you are living proof, Elizabeth, that people can make a success of a career from any background. Okay.
Yes.
So we do often hear about people coming into information security through really interesting stories, and yours is equal to anybody's I've heard. And so well done to you and congratulations. And yeah,
Thank you.
I hope your career flourishes. So yeah,
Thank you.
Brilliant. I think unless we've got any more questions, then Elizabeth, thank you very much. On behalf of the beer farmers, everybody involved and the people watching, listening, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day, everyone.
Take care. Thank you.